Ex-husband gets what he deserves after he cheats on my sister. Hey y'all. From the title, this story isn't about me but my sister. Well, sort of. I am an only child but grew alongside plenty of cousins whom I consider my siblings. TL Doctor at the bottom. I'm on mobile, so spare me. For some clarifications, this story takes place in a third world country in Asia. Laws are different here from other first world and Western countries. This took place in the Philippines. Our country is a conservative and Catholic country, so marriage and married life is held sacred, and any idea of divorce or separation of spouses is frowned upon by most traditionalists. We are basically the island version of Texas and Alabama, where there's lots of hardcore Bible thumpers. This story happened a few years ago when I was about to go to college. My cousin and her husband had been married for a year or so by then but haven't had much success in conceiving a child. We live in a Southeast Asian country and surrogacy isn't legal for some reason, so that option was not in the cards for them. They talked about adopting, but both of them really wanted a child of their own. Anyway, after a few months more of trying, they decided to just postpone it for a while, considering they're still young, as both are in their early 30s. Contrary to popular belief, women can still get pregnant at 30 until 39, 40 is the high-risk/slim chance age. They instead decided to focus on their respective careers and travel whenever possible. All in all, they were having a great life. On the outside, that is. About a few months later, my sister noticed a few things, nothing too drastic. Like her husband would receive these late-night calls. Husband is a doctor, and he would go to the other room to take it, her husband always clearing the history in their shared desktop computer at home, him having to go overtime way too often. Sister asked me and some of our cousins on what to do. At the time I was dating a guy pretty tech-savvy, who on multiple occasions hacked my Facebook, but that is for another story, so I asked him for help. Within 2 days we had his Facebook, Gmail and Instagram account. We found nothing. I thought, okay, weird, maybe sis is being paranoid. Then I had a thought, what about his Viber? After a bit more digging we were able to get hold of his Viber, and boy did we find things. This butthole has been cheating on her for almost half a year. We found dozens and dozens of messages between him and some girl. In one of the messages the girl even admits that even though he is married, she loves him and likes the thrill of being with a married man. It made me and my BF then sick. The girl was just a few years older than me, in her early 20s. They're even exchanging nudes with each other and talking about their little romantic rendezvous. I was absolutely heartbroken. My older sister always wanted a family of her own, and this butt whom she thought was the love of her life had just did this to her. I told my boyfriend to save all of it in a hard drive and log out the accounts. I was hesitant at first to tell my sister, but I knew she deserved the truth. A few days after debating it with myself, I finally showed her everything. As expected, this broke her. She cried and cried. I was crying along with her, as I didn't really like seeing her like this. After hours of both of us sobbing, I decided to get her to get revenge. My sister was never the vindictive type. She was often the timid girl who let people get away with everything because she didn't like confrontation. She was heavily bullied for this during her school years, according to our other cousins that were her age. The revenge: I told my sister of my plan. Now she wasn't really planning on revenge, she wanted to just file for an annulment. Divorce isn't legal here too, but I knew someone had to teach that jerk not to mess with our family. I told her to pretend everything was okay and that she was oblivious to his cheating. It took a good amount of coaxing, but she finally agreed. I decided we needed to catch them in the act because despite the overwhelming evidence, I had a hunch they would deny it. A week later my sister called me and told me that her husband messaged her from his work. He told her that he might work overtime again at the hospital and would just be sleeping at their condo that was about 10 minutes away. She said sure and called me almost immediately. I smiled and told my sister to meet me at the restaurant across the condominium where her husband would be. I arrived there alone and waited for my sister. A few minutes later she arrived. Lucky for us, their condo unit was outfitted with CCTV cameras you can view on your phone/tablet/computer. Husband was not fully aware of this since when they got the condo, it was my sister who took care of outfitting the unit with furniture and stuff. He only signed the paperwork with her at the beginning and rarely had a hand in it. It was supposed to be a rental unit, but husband convinced my sister to let him use it when he would need overtime at work so he can just sleep there and not have to drive the 1-hour journey he had to take to get to their house. We viewed the footage as we were sitting down having some drinks. Nothing yet. Husband wasn't there. An hour passed and we see the front door open and in walks husband with his mistress. What is good about the CCTV though was that it had an audio function so we can hear their full-blown noises while they were ducking. At that moment my sister was about to cry, but I told her that he wasn't worth poop and it's time to confront them. We went to the unit and sneaked inside using my sister's key. They were in the bedroom still getting it on and I slammed the door open to see them doing it. Horrible mental picture. To say that these bastards were shocked would be an understatement. Their jaws were literally on the floor when they saw us. He tried explaining and rationalizing the situation, but I cut him off. I told him to shut up and prepare for a lawsuit. My sister was in tears at this point and I had to drag her away as her douchebag of a husband was pleading. We drove to her home and packed all his poop up in boxes and his bags. The drive home was not pleasant as my sister was still bawling. I comforted her as best I can and told her she would be okay. He got home just a few minutes after we were done packing. She told him that he can't live in the house anymore and that she was leaving him. He said nothing, knowing my temper and the fact that if he tried lying I would have his head then and there. Yeah, I know I am a little ghetto, and loaded his things in his car. The next day I got the evidence from the hard drive and sent it to the board of directors of the hospital he worked in, the medical board, all his colleagues, friends and family. I also sent out the evidence to the woman's family, friends and to her boss and colleagues. The fallout was glorious. They both lost their jobs, husband even had his license revoked and his parents disowned him. One of our cousins was a lawyer and he helped our sister sue him and the woman for concubinage, legal term for adultery. She won the case and was granted an annulment and she got most of their assets in the separation, the house, the condo, cars and money. Her husband got a bit of money but he had to pay a hefty price for the lawyer since his parents refused to help him. I don't recall how many years they had to serve in jail, but since neither can afford bail, they would be spending a lot of time in a facility and have a permanent criminal record when they get out of jail. My sister is fine now. She's still healing from all that bullpoop and is in a better headspace now. TL, Dr. Butthole decides to cheat on my sister, gets caught, both him and Mistress lose everything and they end up in jail. And my sister wins in the end. If this ends up on YouTube, you have my full permission to read it.
Hey guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help me out, thanks.
I live in the Philippines. This took place years ago. You can research the laws on concubinage, legal term, here. We're a Catholic nation supposedly and the laws hold marriage at a very high regard. I was surprised that they could be jailed for cheating. But I guess it makes some sort of twisted sense. Cheating destroys more lives than shoplifting. Is it your cousin as it says at the start or your sister? Sorry for the confusion. It's my cousin. I did state that I am an only child and I grew up besides my extended family, so I consider my cousins as my siblings. Winner winner chicken dinner. Okay, besides the poop that keeps you from getting surrogates or divorcing, Filipino laws are amazing. Holy poop.